Welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream for ustream.tv and also recorded for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm watercolouring in the Johanna Christmas book, colouring book. I'm using my palette that I made. This is part 3 probably. I made this palette of colours from 12, I've got 18 colours here, from 12 bottles of Dr. Martens pH Hydrus watercolours. They're not the concentrates, these are the professional watercolours, the Hydrus. These are light fast. So I've got 3 riggers, but I may change to an ordinary little round brush. We'll see how we go. This is an experiment. Again, this is another page at the beginning of the book, so I'm just having an experiment with it to see which technique I like best for this particular book, because I found I changed techniques with different books. So I'm going for this number 1 rigger, which is the middle one, because I'm going to do this leaf. So I'd made some greens yesterday in part 2, and so I can either just touch this again, and we do have our little paper to test our colours if we're not sure. It's always a good idea before you put it on a page. Even though this is a test page, I don't want to mess it up. Probably going to mix a colour actually. I'm going to put a green, and these have stood overnight, but they have had the colour. They have had their cover on top, and it's a stay wet palette, so again, just to look, and that's quite a nice colour. Now there's a lot of colour on here, so this is probably just going to be a flat colour. So this will look like a felt pen, just a very flat colour. This isn't watercolouring like I normally do, and this is a little bit faster because of course you're just teasing colour in. Let's see if I can just zoom in one more. And I'm just going to try this. To see if that's any better. See if you can see a little bit better. I will just adjust the and that's dried, so I can put that on there. That's fine. That looks a bit better. So if anybody's got any question, hi Carol, welcome to Bunny's Designs. So I'm playing in this corner with a green that I've just made, but there's quite a lot on the brush, and I'm just probably going to do this quite flat, I think. We'll see. I quite like the idea that most pages are bringing out different ways of working, which is quite nice, because otherwise it could get quite boring. So I still got a little bit of a highlight on that one. And the rigger makes sure that you've got no pressure on your hands, which is quite nice. You're just teasing colour in. And for some reason it's still managing to bring out a little bit of a blend, which is nice, a bit of a highlight. So it's obviously in me that that's what I want to do. That's quite a nice colour, is that? If I turn that way, hopefully we can see I've got to be a little bit careful because these are liquids. These are still liquids. How can I do this? I can put this on top. I'm trying to make it so you can see what I'm colouring, but I don't know if that's going to work. Oh, that might work. So I'm going to colour this. Got to be a little bit careful because these are still runny colours because I've had the Stay Wet palette shut. It's kept them as a liquid watercolour, whereas normally they would just dry out. And my daughter's moving her furniture around upstairs. She's having a sleepover. Whoopsie. It's not as easy actually using this method because if it's a little bit dry, it'll run across. So that's a bit better. But this is a lot quicker way of working. And although it's quite good because we know that the ivy green. But I've made all these greens, apart from the phthalo green. I made these greens, and it's so much nicer to make your own greens. And again, that's turned out paler, so I'm just going to have to go with this is how these watercolours are in this particular page. But again, this is a practice. After 2 or 3 first pages, there'll be a way of working that I like, and I will just go with all the other pages like that. But it's nice to be different. It's nice to have different colours. And again, I'm just teasing that colour in. And this is practice with colour, practice with making your own colours, practice staining the lines. So by the time you've done a few of these, I think there's 2 or 3 introductory pages with this book belongs to and all the credits and things. So I think by the time you finish them, but if you're really nervous, a photocopy is going to be fine. It's quite a lot of water on there, but you could just reconstitute that a little bit. And I didn't like that colour, so I just take some of that into it just to make it a green. Now if I was doing this as a proper watercolour, I would probably put a drop of red in there. Sorry, not a drop, a very light touch, and that will make this green a very, very dark green, which again is quite nice for ivy or for tea roses. Sometimes you have a very dark leaf, and shadows as well. But I wanted this book to have some bright, vibrant colours. That was my aim for this book. But the hydrous, they mix very well together. They constitute back if they're dried, so they do behave themselves very well, and I think that's because they are professional watercolours. So as I say, I think they're about £5 for a bottle. So if you've got the 6 bottles, you could make all your colours. But I might use these in the Abbey actually. I'll see how we get on, because we're doing some watercolours in the Abbey, but of course we can do some abstract or some non-traditional watercolours if we want to. We'll see how we go. So has anybody got any questions? I haven't made very much of this colour. I can roughly make it again. It's although I've made these two greens, I can make this colour again roughly, because it's half the pale green and half the dark green, so it's okay. But I can still colour mix. This is why I wanted to get these into this palette, because it's a big palette space. It's got a lot of mixing space on here, which is quite nice, because you can play dabble, play about. And if you don't want to, you can just do just use the colours plain, direct from the little pans. Sorry, the wells. Has anybody got any questions? Put them in caps. So I've asked my daughter to put my other watercolours in the book, pencils, so I can, and the art bars as well, so that should be good. I think the art bars would be nice in this book as well. I might use the art bars, but I'd like to get them in my little book of watercolours, because you've got more control. So I can actually get quite a lot of things done today, hopefully. I'm still babysitting the little boy under the desk. So I think I've done all the holly. So we want the poinsettias now. We want the green, but I've got some green on here. So because I'm a tight Yorkshire lass, I've got some green. And I think I might just have a look at this one and see just how different it is. It's not very different, so I'm going to have to go for the paler, the thinner brush. I'm going to take some yellow, give it a bit of a jiggle about because it's been sat overnight, and then I'm going to put that into here, and then that's given me quite a nice colour. But I think poinsettias are purpley, not a purpley, it's a different colour, isn't it, altogether. I'm not happy with that now. I think we might get away with that for a point theatre. Let me have a look. I think I'm going to do that colour. Alfie, come here, please. So I hope I don't need that one anymore because I've changed it, but never mind. Yes, I think I like that colour. And drop some water on there. I've got to be a bit careful. And I think I'm just going to go with the dark colour. The only thing I'm going to leave is the curled up bit as a highlight, and I'll put that in last. And again, I'm not going to get any, I don't think I'm going to get any highlights and differences because there's a lot of colour in this brush and it's all dead colour, so I might be wrong, but we'll see. But again, it's still quite a nice way to tease colour. Oh, and he's going to be a terror now. And the nice thing about making your own greens is they're still connected. They're not out of a tube, so they are connected. And it's a very, very relaxing way to paint, is this. To colour in. So I'm going to leave that curl. I think that's a curl. Oh, Dorothy, well done. Dorothy, she's got some happy mail. How wonderful. I've got another one over there. Just going to kind of rejiggle this a little bit. Turn that here. Oh, sorry, there's some barking going on. I apologise. Alfie, please come here. No, he's not going to come here. I may have to go rescue him because he's just going to be that way out today. Back to his naughty self. It didn't take long, did it? I put a little bell around his neck because he sneaks off. And every time he moves now, the bell goes. So we know exactly where he is. It doesn't seem to bother him. So it is a different green. Slightly different green. Just put a tiny amount of water in there just to reconstitute that back. Because you need a fair amount on your brush, because if your brush drags, you go over the line. But you don't want too wet that it's going to go through the page. So it's, again, a practice page is brilliant for that. You'll learn instantly if you've got too much colour on your brush or if it's just right. Now this is very good quality paper. It's not watercolour paper, but it's very good quality paper. So again, a little bit of colour on there is going to be fine. But if you're not sure, use a, just going to mix that with that one a little bit just to see if I can get very slightly paler one to just highlight this. And it didn't work. There's a curl on that one, and a curl on that one. So I've got a little bit of a highlight on it, not much. I think that's finished. There's some little green leaves, and I'm conscious I've got this this green, and there's a little bit of yellow in the corner, very pale green, so I'm just going to take the brush and reconstitute that, and that's going to lighten up that colour I have on my brush, and then it's going to give me, although it is a bit big, a very, very slight difference for these leaves. There's not many, I don't think. I might just be off camera. Just I think that's all the leaves. I am conscious that I've got a lot of green on this paintbrush. So as a tight Yorkshire lass, I'm just going to take this page. Sorry about this. And just colour these leaves here, because I don't really want to waste this really nice pale green I've got. And that's a little bit wet, but I can't really do much about that. But it's a nice green, so. And all I did was just add a drop of water. And because these are so vibrant, I've got the deep green has now gone that little bit paler by adding water. And that's what we were doing in the other Johanna Basford book last week, is using up paint in your brush that would be thrown into the water pot. And again, I've got a paintbrush full, so we'll see just how far that is going to take us. So I've got this really unusual green by using the dark that was on for the poinsettia into a dried, very pale green that I made yesterday. And I've just added a touch of water to reconstitute it back into a nice flowing watercolour. And this is, it's therapeutic for me, so I hope it's not too boring, but you just kind of get carried away in your own little world, just colouring in and enjoying the process. So I'm still working in this corner here. I put some water in here. And that might lend itself to this. Oops. Well, it's got to twist to a point. It's always better to be in a point. Because if you've got any rogue hairs, they're going to go instantly over the line. I might do the stems a little bit darker, But again, this colour would have been washed away, and I actually quite like this colour. So you can end up with hundreds of different greens just from two greens that you've made, or from a yellow and a blue. Oops, just the wrong one there. And it's getting that little bit dry now. You can tell when the brush starts to not want to release the colour very, very easily. But you can see there's still tons of colour in that brush. It's all green, so touch of water, and again tease all that colour down. And it's going to get paler and paler, but that's fine. It's still connected. It is a lot paler, that, but that's fine. It's better than it going down the drain. So I've got 2 more corners to do. And that's come from this green. So it's quite nice to do that. Yes, they dry very quickly, but again it depends how you use them. I'm using them as a watercolour. Very dry. But they're just the same. If you water things down, if you use a large brush, as a traditional watercolourist, on watercolour paper that's taped down so it doesn't lift up and crinkle. If you go on there's a website. If you type in Dr. Martin's Hydrus, there's a lady that. There's quite a few people, but if you watched the watercolour demonstration, she puts a drop on a palette and then lots of water, makes washes. And of course, because these are so vibrant, they do that. So we'll be doing that in the Abbey, making washes and doing proper what I call proper watercolour. So just got to go to this corner here. And I've almost run out of colour, but there's a drop left in there. So we've got, the dogs are coming through now, so it could be a bit barky. So I apologise in advance. And that's a little bit darker because I've just gone into the other side, but I'm not bothered. I wanted just to colour this. Sorry for I think there's going to be a lot of banging thingy. That's okay. Sorry, darling. I'm not sure what's wrong with do you want a hand? I may just have to jump up because Pickles is in there and she's in a grumpy mood. And
we're coming down.
Okay. Will you look after Alfie? Have you got candles burning up there?
Yeah, I've blown them all out.
Yeah, well make sure you do because they smell. Thank you. Bring Alfie back in here, darling, and I'll have him back in here. It's a madhouse when everybody starts getting up. Just going to have to go get Alfie and bring him back into this room. Sam, just bring Alfie back before he's leave, please.
I have to bring Molly down.
Yeah, well, Alfie will be alright with Molly, isn't she? Right. So that's what I've done so far. And then I've just done the corners on the other side. So I'm going to just pan out. I'm going to stop recording for a minute while we get Molly's on crutches. So we just have to be a bit careful with her. So I've managed to get those colours there. And I've done the corners on that side. And I've hardly used any colour at all. Oops, which again is a tight Yorkshire lass. I love that. So thanks for watching, and that's the end of part 3. I will be finishing this page off in part 4.